hides its most extraordinary truths behind the quietest mountains. And sometimes, a small kingdom, no bigger than a whisper between two giants, holds stories that shake everything you thought you knew about how people live, love, believe, and find meaning. Tonight, let me take you to such a place. A land wrapped in clouds, guarded by ancient peaks, and guided not by wealth, but by something far rarer: the unyielding pursuit of a simple, honest happiness. My friend, welcome back to Fascinating Discoveries. If this is your first time here, I'm grateful you found your way to this little corner of the world. And if you've walked with me before, you know how these journeys go. Slow, steady, and quietly unforgettable. Before we begin, consider subscribing, sharing this video, or leaving a thought in the comments. It helps this channel reach more wanderers like you, people who still believe the world is worth understanding. Tonight's journey leads us to Bhutan, a kingdom that seems almost unreal, as if it slipped away from the rush of time and chose to preserve something the rest of us have long forgotten. A country where a dragon roars in the thunder of the Himalayas, where symbols that shock outsiders carry deep spiritual meaning, where happiness is measured more carefully than money, and where mountains are not conquered, but worshipped. As we move through this story, let yourself feel the curiosity rising, then the surprise, the wonder, and eventually, the quiet reflection that Bhutan always seems to awaken. This is not a travel guide, not a list, not a spectacle. It is simply a journey, one seen through old eyes and perhaps felt with a young heart. When you're ready, follow me into the mountains. Number 1. Land of the Thunder Dragon. High in the folds of the Himalayas, where the air thins and the wind sings in long, ancient breaths, Bhutan appears like a secret the world almost forgot to keep. From afar, it looks impossibly small, just a narrow stretch of valleys and ridges suspended between India and China. But the closer you step, the more the land seems to expand, not in size, but in meaning. It feels less like a country and more like a living memory, one that has refused to fade despite the roaring century around it. The Bhutanese call their home Druk Yul, the land of the thunder dragon. And once you stand beneath those towering peaks, you understand why. Storms don't simply pass here. They descend with a force that rattles stone walls and bends the highest trees, rolling across the slopes like a dragon, shaking the sky awake. The locals speak of these tempests with a strange affection, as if the thunder itself were part of their family. Perhaps it is. In a place where nature still holds the highest seat of power, the people have learned to listen instead of conquer. What struck me first wasn't the landscape, though, magnificent as it was, but the quiet confidence of the Bhutanese themselves. Fewer than 1 million people live here, scattered across villages carved into mountainsides. And yet, despite their isolation, there is a calm openness in their gaze. Children greet strangers without hesitation. Elders bow gently as they pass. Even the stray dogs, plump, sleepy, and universally adored, seem to understand that they belong to a place that has chosen kindness over chaos. English, surprisingly, flows easily from the tongues of schoolchildren, woven naturally into their native dzongkha. They laugh when they speak it, not out of embarrassment, but because communication itself is a joyful act here. You quickly realize that Bhutan's isolation has never been the isolation of fear. It is the deliberate, steady breath of a nation that knew what it wanted to protect long before the rest of us knew what we were losing. And the land they protect gives back more than most countries dream of. Over 70% of Bhutan is covered in forest, a thick, breathing lung of green stretching across the mountains. The world measures emissions. Bhutan measures absorption. In an age where nations compete in pollution, this kingdom quietly balances the scales, withdrawing more carbon into its forests than it releases. It is, quite literally, the planet's cleanest breath. If you stand still long enough, you begin to feel it too. The strange, peaceful sensation that you've stepped not into the past, but into a version of the present where we somehow made gentler choices. Number 2. Sacred phallus symbol. There are moments in Bhutan when the unfamiliar appears so boldly, so unapologetically, that you almost forget to breathe. The first time I walked through a quiet village road, I noticed something painted on the walls of homes. Large, colorful, and impossible to ignore. At first glance, an outsider might blush, hesitate, or even turn away. A symbol that much of the world considers indecent stands proudly here: the phallus. But in Bhutan, meanings bend and transform under the weight of centuries. Nothing is ever quite what it seems. These striking symbols, painted in bright reds, deep browns, sometimes adorned with ribbons or flames, are not meant to provoke or embarrass. They are guardians, protectors, reminders of an unconventional monk named Drukpa Kunli, the divine madman who wandered the valleys centuries ago teaching enlightenment through humor, rebellion, and shock. Where other masters spoke softly, he laughed loudly. Where others used scripture, he used symbolism that pierced straight through human pretenses. The Bhutanese embraced his lesson. Not everything sacred has to look sacred. To them, the phallus is a shield against misfortune, a talisman of life, fertility, strength, and good fortune. Mothers hang wooden carvings above their doors. Families paint them beside windows. Travelers find them on prayer flags and signposts. No one flinches. No one giggles behind their hands. There is a purity in the way the Bhutanese carry these symbols, an innocence that feels disarming, almost embarrassing in its honesty. As I moved deeper into the village, I saw an elderly woman sitting by her doorway, painting one of these symbols with slow, practiced strokes. Her hands were steady, her expression serene. When she caught me watching, she smiled. A warm, effortless smile that dissolved any lingering awkwardness. "Protection," she said simply. "For the house, for the children, for the people who pass by." It was in that moment I understood. Sometimes the world becomes obscene only because we have forgotten the roots of things. But Bhutan remembers. And perhaps that is why the sight that startles outsiders brings comfort here. It is an emblem not of crudeness, but of continuity, a way of saying that life, in all its forms, deserves respect. As I walked away, the wind picked up, brushing gently against the prayer flags above me. Their faded colors fluttered like old stories retold with every breeze. And I realized that in Bhutan, nothing is hidden, yet everything is deeper than it first appears. Number 3. Gross national happiness. If you spend enough time wandering Bhutan's valleys, another quiet truth reveals itself, one that feels almost impossible in the world we come from. This is a country that does not chase wealth the way others do. Its people do not measure success in rising numbers or overflowing accounts. Here, the currency that matters most is something far more fragile, far more human: happiness. Not the loud, celebratory kind. Not the kind achieved through ambition or possessions. Bhutan seeks a gentler form of happiness, the kind that settles in the bones and rests in the heart. The kind that lives between family meals, in morning prayers, in the rustle of wind across pine forests. Perhaps that is why the nation created something the rest of the world still struggles to comprehend: gross national happiness. While others chase GDP, Bhutan asks different questions. Are people sleeping well? Are families at peace? Is nature unharmed? Are communities intact? Are minds calm? It is a strange sensation, walking through a place where the official measure of prosperity is based on emotions, community, and environment. But the more time I spent here, the more I felt a quiet envy rising inside me. Because somehow, in its isolation, this small kingdom had articulated what so many societies forgot. Life is not about accumulation, it is about alignment. The air here tastes different, cleaner, softer. It slides into your lungs like a gift. Maybe it's because killing animals is forbidden within Bhutan's borders, or because the forests stand untouched by the greed that stripped so many other lands bare. Maybe it's because the people have learned to live with enough, rather than constantly reaching for more. During one afternoon in a dusty village square, I saw something that would be unthinkable in many parts of the world. A group of children played soccer, shouting in laughter. Among them was a young man wearing a distinct traditional robe. Not elegant or royal, just simple and clean. One of the villagers leaned toward me and whispered, "That is the prince." And yet no one bowed. No one stared. No one strained for his attention. He was simply a boy among boys. Equality wasn't declared here, it was practiced. And as I watched that scene under the soft Himalayan sun, I felt a quiet ache. A thought I didn't dare say aloud. Perhaps the world isn't unhappy because life is difficult. Perhaps it is unhappy because we have forgotten how to live simply, honestly, and together. Number 4. Visiting Bhutan. Of all the places I've seen in my lifetime, few are as difficult to reach, physically and spiritually, as Bhutan. Not because the kingdom tries to hide, but because it insists the journey must be intentional. You cannot simply wander in on a whim. You must choose to come, and then prove that you mean no harm to the land or the people who guard it with quiet devotion. There is only one international gateway into the kingdom: Paro Airport. A thin ribbon of runway nestled tightly between mountain walls that rise like giant guardians. When the plane descends, it seems to weave between cliffs and rooftops, almost brushing treetops with its wings. Many travelers grip their seats, breath held tight in their lungs. The truth is almost unbelievable. Only a handful of pilots in the world are certified to land here. Not because Bhutan wants exclusivity, but because the Himalayas demand respect. And perhaps that respect is the heart of Bhutan's choices. The country has built a protective shell around its culture, not to keep the world out, but to keep itself intact. To enter, you must book through a local agency. You must pay a sustainable development fee, a contribution to the land you're stepping into. $100 a night may sound steep to some, but here it is not a toll, it is a promise. A way of saying, if you come, you will give as much as you take. During my time there, I met a young guide named Takin. He spoke with a calm certainty that made him seem older than his years. "We are not trying to be rich," he told me as we walked along a riverbank glittering with morning light. "We are trying to stay ourselves." I remember that sentence more clearly than any landmark. In a century obsessed with modernization, Bhutan dares to slow down, to limit travelers, to ask for intention, not impulse. It is why only around 100,000 visitors stepped foot here last year, 2/3 of them from India, their closest neighbor. It is why the valleys have not been chewed up by neon signs, highways, or glass towers. Why monasteries still sit untouched on cliffs. Why the rhythm of life here feels more like a prayer than a schedule. As the sun dipped behind the peaks one evening, casting a cool blue light across the village rooftops, I found myself wondering whether Bhutan's isolation was a curse or a blessing. And the longer I stayed, the more the answer softened into something simple and undeniable. Sometimes, to preserve beauty, you must be willing to guard it gently, even if the rest of the world calls it inconvenient. Number 5. Marriage and polygamy. There are customs in Bhutan that the outside world struggles to understand. Rituals and relationships shaped by mountains, time, and necessity. Among them is a truth that startles almost everyone who first hears it. In this gentle kingdom, marriage bends in ways most societies have long abandoned. Polygamy, both for men and women, has roots that stretch far into Bhutan's history. On a cold morning in a remote valley, I sat with an elderly farmer named Dorji. His face was wrinkled by years of wind, sun, and quiet laughter. As we shared a pot of butter tea, he spoke with matter-of-fact calmness about families in which a man might take more than one wife, or a woman might take more than one husband. It wasn't about desire, he said softly. It was about survival, about keeping the land together, about taking care of each other. The mountains shaped these choices. In places where farmland was scarce and winters harsh, siblings sometimes shared a spouse to avoid dividing the land. A woman might marry brothers, a man might marry sisters. What seems strange to the modern mind was once a practical way to endure the demands of the Himalayas. Even the fourth king of Bhutan married 4 sisters, a story that has become part of the nation's folklore. Outsiders gasp at it. Locals shrug gently. It was our way, an old woman told me, as she spun wool into yarn. Love is important, but living well together is more important. What intrigued me most was not the tradition itself, but the position of women within it. Bhutanese women hold a quiet strength that seeps through the rhythm of daily life. Property often passes through daughters, not sons. Men commonly move into the household of their wives, not the other way around. And if a marriage dissolves, the man, never the woman, bears the burden of compensation. There is a sense of balance here, a tenderness woven into the structure of family. Yet Bhutan is not naive. The modern world has pushed against these old arrangements, and today polygamy, though legal, is rare. Young people increasingly prefer monogamy, choosing love rather than tradition to guide them. Still, the echoes of the past remain. And like everything in Bhutan, those echoes are carried with dignity rather than shame. Before I left the village, a young traveler asked me if marrying a Bhutanese woman was possible for foreigners. The locals nearby laughed kindly. Not impossible, one man said, but almost. Bhutan guards its people as it guards its mountains, with affection, caution, and an understanding that not all doors should open easily. As I walked away, the scent of wood smoke drifted through the air. Families called to one another across courtyards, and I realized that Bhutan's approach to marriage wasn't strange at all. It was simply another expression of their deepest value. Harmony over spectacle, meaning over appearance, community over convention. Number 6. Tiger's Nest Monastery. Every traveler who arrives in Bhutan eventually finds themselves standing before a sight that feels almost unreal. A place where clouds drift so close to the earth that you could almost reach out and gather them in your hands. They call it Takin, Tiger's Nest. But names never quite capture the soul of a place. You must see it, breathe it, feel it in your bones before the truth settles in. Perched on a vertical cliff more than 3,000 meters above the valley floor, the monastery clings to the mountainside with a defiance that borders on the miraculous. From below, it appears suspended between heaven and earth, balanced on a ledge barely wide enough to place your feet. There are no towering fences, no dramatic signs, no polished marble welcoming you, only stone, wind, and silence. The journey upward begins slowly, with a dusty trail winding through pine forests that whisper in the breeze. Horses can carry you part of the way, but most walkers choose to rely on their own breath. Every step feels like a small offering, a quiet acknowledgement that sacred places demand effort. The air thins as the climb grows steeper, lungs tighten, legs burn. Yet somehow the hardship feels holy, as if the mountain is gently testing your intentions. Halfway up, the valley opens beneath you. The monastery appears again, closer now, glowing softly in the afternoon sun. Travelers often stop here, not because they need rest, but because the view takes something out of them, a part of their breath, a part of their certainty. I've seen seasoned hikers fall silent. I've seen restless souls find stillness for the first time. And then there is the legend. They say Guru Rinpoche, the saint who brought Buddhism to Bhutan, flew to this cliff on the back of a tigress to meditate. A story that would sound fanciful anywhere else, yet here, surrounded by ancient rock and echoing air, it seems strangely plausible. Some places feel touched by something greater. Tiger's Nest is one of them. When you finally reach the monastery, the world becomes quiet. Prayer flags flutter along the edges of the cliff, their frayed edges brushing against centuries of devotion. Inside, butter lamps flicker like small stars trapped in dark rooms. Monks move gently, their footsteps soft as snow. And you, just a visitor, feel the weight of your own heartbeat against a silence that has existed long before you and will continue long after. Standing on that ledge, with the valley stretching endlessly below, I felt a sensation I rarely feel anywhere else. A peace that doesn't demand anything, doesn't try to impress, doesn't even try to teach. It simply exists, waiting for the weary to notice it. And maybe that is the greatest gift Bhutan offers. Not awe, not wonder, but a reminder that the sacred still lives quietly in corners of the world, untouched by noise. Number 7. Paro Tshechu Festival. If Tiger's Nest is the soul of Bhutan, then its festivals are the heartbeat. And nowhere does that heartbeat echo more loudly than in Paro during the Tshechu, a celebration so vibrant and ancient that you feel it long before you see it. The first hint is the sound. Drums rolling like distant thunder, horns calling out across the valley, and the low, steady chant of monks preparing for rituals older than most nations on earth. People arrive in colors brighter than any sunrise, women in silk kira, shimmering like river water, men in crisp go, patterned with the stories of their ancestors. Children run excitedly between them, their laughter mixing with the music in the air. Even the stray dogs seem to sense that something unusual is happening. They wander lazily through the crowds, as if they know they belong to this community too. What unfolds in the courtyard of the fortress feels less like a performance and more like a memory being retold through bodies and movement. Masked dancers, some fierce, some gentle, some odd enough to make children giggle, begin to spin. Their steps create small clouds of dust that rise like spirits from the earth. The dances reenact battles between good and evil, retell Buddhist teachings, and portray deities that guide the Bhutanese through life's uncertainties. But it is not the spectacle that moves you. It is the sincerity. Every gesture, every turn, every drumbeat carries a sense of devotion so deep that for a moment you forget the modern world exists at all. Elders watch with moist eyes, whispering prayers under their breath. Young men stand proudly beside their families, absorbing traditions they will inherit one day. Tourists fall silent, struck not by the color or the rhythm, but by the raw humanity of it all. And then comes the unveiling of the Thangka, a giant sacred tapestry unfurled just once each year before dawn, as the valley still lies under a blanket of bluish light. When it drops open against the wall of the fortress, gasps rise from the crowd. The tapestry seems almost alive, the embroidered image of Guru Rinpoche glowing softly in the cool morning air. Some bow, some cry, some simply stare, their hearts unable to form words. I stood among them, an outsider held gently in the warmth of a tradition that has survived earthquakes, wars, and centuries of change. What touched me most was not the grandeur of the festival, but the quiet truth behind it. Bhutan does not celebrate to entertain. Bhutan celebrates to remember, and in that remembrance, a small nation keeps its identity intact, thread by thread, dance by dance, prayer by prayer. Number 8. Bhutan and modernization. The more time I spent in Bhutan, the clearer it became that this kingdom does not simply resist change, it negotiates with it, gently, carefully, like someone handling a fragile heirloom passed down through too many generations to count. Modernity hasn't been rejected here. It has merely been asked to wait at the door until the elders decide whether it may enter. This refusal to rush is most visible in the simplest corner of daily life: the roads. In a world racing toward automation, Bhutan still prefers the human presence of traffic police. At the busiest intersection in Thimphu, the capital, you won't find glowing red lights or humming signals. Instead, you'll see a single officer standing beneath a small wooden canopy, directing cars with sweeping, choreographed gestures that look almost like a dance. Drivers roll down their windows to greet him. Pedestrians smile as they pass. And he, in turn, offers a nod as gentle as a blessing. Once, many years ago, the government attempted to install traffic lights. They lasted only a day. People said the lights felt cold, unfriendly, an interruption to the warmth of human connection. So they were taken down, quietly, without fuss. And the country continued as it had before. Slow, personal, familiar. Television followed a similar path. While the world grew up under flickering screens, Bhutan resisted the intrusion. Not out of ignorance, but out of caution. Leaders feared the influence of stories not their own, worried that foreign narratives might unravel the delicate threads of tradition. It wasn't until 1999 that television finally entered Bhutanese homes, making it the last country on earth to adopt it. Some celebrated the arrival. Others mourned what they believed would be the beginning of cultural erosion. And perhaps both were right. But what struck me was this: even after televisions appeared, the rhythm of life didn't collapse into noise. The quiet remained. The prayer wheels continued to turn. Families still gathered in the evenings, their conversations uninterrupted by the urgency that screens tend to impose. Bhutan accepted modernity, but refused to let it reshape the core of who they were. Walking through Thimphu one evening, I saw children playing in the fading golden light, their laughter drifting through the streets like bird song. No neon signs glowed above them. No billboards loomed overhead. The city held itself with an unpolished charm, as if reminding anyone who cared to notice. Progress does not always require speed, only intention. And it was in that moment I realized something quietly profound. Bhutan is not behind the world. It is simply moving in a direction the rest of us rarely consider. Number 9. No global brands. It was during those slow walks through Bhutan's towns that another peculiar truth revealed itself, one that would puzzle almost any visitor arriving from a world crowded with logos and franchises. In Bhutan, there are no towering golden arches, no green mermaids smiling from coffee cups, no familiar jingles leaking from fast food speakers. McDonald's, Starbucks, KFC, the corporate giants that have planted their flags in nearly every corner of the planet, simply do not exist here. At first, I assumed it was a matter of policy, some kind of ban, perhaps. But the reason is far simpler, and in its simplicity, far more telling. The Bhutanese simply don't need them. I met a young entrepreneur named Choki in a small tea house overlooking a quiet river. She stirred her saffron tea thoughtfully as she explained, "It's not profitable for them. We don't crave those things. We have our own food, our own ways of gathering. Big brands would open and then close." She shrugged gently, as if the absence of globalization's biggest symbols were nothing extraordinary at all. What struck me was the peacefulness of it. There was no pride in rejecting foreign companies, no defiance, no political chest-beating. Just a calm understanding that some things bring more noise than nourishment. Bhutan's economy is modest. Its GDP per capita is a fraction of that of wealthier nations. But that hasn't dimmed the contentment of its people. I noticed something unusual in the markets. Vendors who chatted more than they sold. Families walking slowly between stalls. Neighbors stopping to check on each other. Life here is not built around consumption. It moves on conversation, community, presence. In the Western world, we often measure convenience by how quickly we can get something. In Bhutan, convenience seems to be measured by how little one needs. I wandered through a narrow street where the evening sun cast a warm glow on wooden houses. A small bakery filled the air with the scent of fresh buns. Beside it, an elderly woman sold handmade cheese wrapped in cloth, smiling shyly at passers-by. No advertisements, no fluorescent signs. Just the quiet hum of life lived at a human scale. For a moment, I imagined what it would feel like if the world chose to grow this way, without the constant tug of brand loyalty, without the pressure to chase new flavors, without the need for corporate familiarity in every foreign land. Maybe we would reclaim a little of ourselves. Maybe conversations would return to the center of our days. In Bhutan, simplicity isn't a trend. It's the default, the expected, the cherished. And as I walked back toward my guest house, the sky turning lavender above me, I realized how rare it is to find a place where what you lack becomes a source of quiet strength, rather than longing. Number 10. Sacred mountains. The more I wandered through Bhutan, the more I understood that its gentleness was not weakness. It was intention. And nowhere is that intention more evident than in the way the Bhutanese regard their mountains. In many places around the world, mountains are challenges, summits to be conquered, trophies for climbers hungry for achievement. But here, the peaks rise untouched, unscarred by crampons or dusty footprints. They stand like ancient guardians, sacred and sovereign. One evening, as the sky faded into a quiet orange, I sat beside a shepherd named Karma. His herd grazed lazily on a hillside overlooking a chain of rugged summits. When I pointed to one of the towering peaks glowing in the last light of the day, he shook his head gently. "No one climbs there," he said, almost whispering. "It is the home of the gods." And he meant it, literally, sincerely, with the steadiness of a man repeating a truth as old as his ancestors. Bhutan has a strict rule. No mountain higher than 6,000 meters may be climbed. Not because of danger or lack of skill or bureaucratic barriers, but because these heights are believed to belong to spirits, deities, and forces beyond human comprehension. To climb them would be a disturbance, a disruption of a delicate balance between the seen and unseen. This is why Gangkar Puensum, the highest unclimbed mountain in the world, remains untouched. Standing at an astonishing 7,570 meters, it towers far above the landscape, austere and silent. Mountaineers around the globe speak of it with longing, calling it the Forbidden Crown, the last great challenge. But for the Bhutanese, the mountain is not a trophy. It is a sanctuary, perhaps the greatest sanctuary they have. As I sat there with Karma, the wind carrying the scent of pine and cold stone, I realized how radically different Bhutan's relationship with nature is. It is not built on conquest, extraction, or ambition. It is built on reverence, on coexistence, on an unspoken understanding that some parts of the earth are meant to remain wild, not because humanity lacks the ability to reach them, but because wisdom sometimes lies in choosing not to. The shepherd lifted his hand toward the peak. "If people climbed it," he murmured, "the gods would have no place to rest." His words were simple, almost childlike, yet they carried a depth far greater than scientific explanations or political reasoning. In Bhutan, nature doesn't just surround life, it shapes it, guides it, humbles it. And as the last light slipped behind the ridge, I felt a quiet truth settle in my chest. In a world obsessed with reaching the highest point, there is something profoundly healing about a place that believes the highest point should remain untouched. Number 11. Thimphu, peaceful capital. There is a particular stillness that settles over Thimphu, Bhutan's capital, a kind of quiet that seems impossible for any city to hold. Capitals, in most countries, pulse with hurried footsteps, honking traffic, and a constant tug-of-war between ambition and exhaustion. But Thimphu feels different. It breathes, it listens, it moves at the pace of the mountains surrounding it, not the machines within it. The city lies high above sea level, over 2,000 meters in elevation, where the air tastes cleaner, lighter, as if filtered through centuries of pine. Walking through its streets feels like wandering through a village that simply grew without losing its soul. Wooden houses sit beside modern buildings without clashing. Prayer wheels turn quietly by the roadside. Stray dogs, well-fed, gentle, and strangely dignified, doze in patches of sunlight, unbothered by passing cars. One morning I climbed a gentle hill overlooking the city and found myself standing before a towering figure of bronze and gold, the Buddha Dordenma. At more than 50 meters tall, it looks over the valley with a gaze so calm, so steady, that even the restless find a moment of peace beneath it. When the sun rises behind the statue, its silhouette glows like an ember in the sky, a reminder that not all monuments are built for grandeur. Some are built for grounding. A short distance away sits the National Library, where one of the world's largest books is kept. It weighs nearly 60 kilograms. I watched two librarians carefully turn its pages, each one a gentle reveal of Bhutan's history, scriptures, and stories. There was a reverence in their movements, as if they weren't just handling paper, but memory. But what moved me most in Thimphu wasn't the landmarks. It was the way the people carried themselves. A vendor in the market pressing extra fruit into a child's hands. A monk pausing to pet a stray dog with the same tenderness he would offer a friend. Neighbors greeting each other without hurry. Nothing loud, nothing forced. Just a rhythm of life paced by sincerity instead of urgency. As evening settled over the city, I watched families stroll across the central square. Children chased each other in circles, elders chatted softly on benches, and above them, the mountains stood watch, silent, eternal, protective. It struck me then that Thimphu wasn't peaceful because nothing happened there. It was peaceful because everything that happened carried meaning. In a world that often confuses noise with progress, standing in Bhutan's capital felt like a reminder that tranquility is not the absence of life, but the presence of balance. Number 12. Bhutanese cuisine. Food has always been a window into the soul of a place. In some countries, it is a celebration, in others, a necessity. But in Bhutan, food feels like a quiet declaration of identity. Simple, fiery, and deeply tied to the land. And nothing captures that better than their love, or perhaps devotion, to chili. Not chili as seasoning, chili as the meal itself. I remember my first true Bhutanese lunch in a small farmhouse perched above a valley of green rice terraces. The host, a middle-aged woman with a laugh that could warm an entire winter, placed a steaming bowl in front of me. Inside were bright red chilies floating in a creamy layer of local cheese, emadachi, the signature dish of the kingdom. I expected a subtle heat. What I got instead was a blaze, not unpleasant, but bold enough to wake every sense I had. She watched me take the first bite, waiting for my reaction. When I finally managed a breathless smile, she nodded proudly. "Spicy keeps the cold away," she said. And in a land where winter can sit heavy on the mountainsides, that explanation seemed as practical as it was poetic. Chilies hang everywhere in the villages, long strands of vibrant red drying on rooftops, balconies, fences. They look like garlands for a festival that never ends, turning even the simplest homes into mosaics of color. Children pluck them casually. Elders grind them with the same patience they bring to prayer. But Bhutanese cuisine isn't all fire. There are gentler flavors too. Buckwheat pancakes served with soft butter, bowls of barley soup thick enough to warm your bones, tender chicken stews infused with herbs that grow wild along riverbanks. These meals feel like an embrace, nourishing, unfussy, honest. What struck me most, though, wasn't the taste. It was the intention behind it. Meals here are not rushed. Families sit together. They share what they have. They talk. They laugh. They linger. In the quiet rhythm of Bhutanese dining, you sense a kind of gratitude, not for abundance, but for enough. I once sat beside a farmer as he ate a simple bowl of rice and chilies after a long day of work. When I asked if he ever wished for more varied food, he smiled at me, not dismissively, but with a softness that reached his eyes. "Why wish for more," he said, "when this fills the stomach and the heart?" His words lingered with me long after the meal had ended. In Bhutan, even the spice carries a lesson. Life can be sharp, intense, surprising, and still deeply satisfying. Number 13. The Takin. As I traveled farther north, deeper into the folds of the mountains, I met a creature so unusual that for a moment I wondered whether Bhutan's folklore had stepped quietly into the real world. It appeared on a ridge at dusk, broad-shouldered, golden-furred, standing with a solemn stillness that felt almost human. A Takin. I had seen pictures before, but photographs had never done it justice. Up close, the animal looks like a riddle the earth forgot to finish. A little bit goat, a little bit cow, a little bit something entirely its own. Its face is expressive, almost contemplative, with dark eyes that seem older than the forest it roams. There is a heaviness to its stance, not clumsy but grounded, as if it carries the weight of ancient stories in its bones. The Bhutanese tell a tale that the Takin was created by Drukpa Kunli, the divine madman. The same wandering monk who filled the country with laughter, bold teachings, and symbols meant to shake people awake. They say he was asked to perform a miracle after eating a meal of goat and cow. So he slapped the goat's head onto the cow's body, proclaimed it done, and the Takin stood up and walked away. A story half sacred, half humorous, just like the man himself. But legend aside, the Takin is a creature forged by the mountains. It survives where the air is thin, the cold is sharp, and the forests twist into near silence. Only a few thousand remain. Rangers track them cautiously, almost protectively, knowing that each herd tells a quiet story of endurance. One evening, in Jigme Dorji National Park, I watched a small group of Takins navigate a steep slope with surprising grace. Mothers guiding their young, older males standing guard. A faint mist curled through the trees, catching the last glow of sunset on the creatures' thick coats. For a long, still moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. A ranger beside me whispered, "They live where we cannot. They go where we should not." There was admiration in his voice, but also humility, as if the Takin were not just Bhutan's national animal, but its quiet teacher, showing through instinct what humans often forget through reasoning. In many countries, unusual wildlife becomes spectacle. Here, it becomes a reminder, a symbol of resilience, of mystery, of harmony between the human world and the wild one. Watching the Takin disappear into the forest, I felt a pang of something I couldn't quite name. Perhaps longing, perhaps reverence, perhaps a simple acknowledgement that some wonders exist precisely because they remain untouched. And as the forest darkened, Bhutan felt, once again, like a place where myth and reality walk side by side, without ever needing to explain themselves. Number 14. Environmental leadership. The deeper I journeyed into Bhutan, the more I realized that this kingdom is not merely protecting its culture, it is preserving something far more fragile: harmony. And nowhere is that harmony more visible than in the way Bhutan treats the earth beneath its feet. While the world debates policies, Bhutan quietly acts, guided by a humility that feels almost old-fashioned in its decency. Long before environmentalism became a global trend, Bhutan committed itself to the simple principle that nature should remain whole. It wasn't a political message. It wasn't a branding exercise. It was just common sense to them. Forests were sacred. Rivers were living arteries. Mountains were temples. And the air was a gift. In 1999, when other nations were drowning in plastic, Bhutan banned plastic bags entirely. Not reduced, not taxed, banned. The decision was greeted not with outrage, but with a kind of collective nod, as if everyone already knew it needed to happen. Later, the country took an even bolder step: a complete ban on tobacco sales and production. Public smoking carries fines so severe that most people never dare risk it. And yet there is no bitterness in these rules, only acceptance. Because for Bhutan, health is not a personal matter. It is a shared responsibility. One morning, I walked through a forest near Punakha, where the light filtered through tall blue pines like thin slices of gold. The air felt impossibly clean, the kind of clean that makes you wonder whether your lungs had ever really tasted purity before. Along the path, children walked to school with books tied in cloth bundles. They moved without rushing, stopping occasionally to pick up fallen branches to clear the way for the next traveler. It struck me then that environmental protection wasn't taught here. It was inherited, absorbed through daily life, through respect passed from parent to child. The land gives, and so the people protect it. Not for applause, not for headlines, but because that is simply how one lives well. Later that day, I spoke with a teacher who told me something I have never forgotten. "We don't strive to be carbon negative," she said with a gentle smile. "We simply don't want to take more than we need." In those words, there was a quiet wisdom, the kind that feels simple until you try to practice it. As I left the forest, the wind stirred the prayer flags overhead, sending their faded colors fluttering into the sky. And I found myself thinking how rare it is, in our restless world, to encounter a place where environmental harmony isn't a dream or a plan, but a daily, lived truth. Number 15. Traditional clothing and culture. As my days in Bhutan stretched gently into weeks, I began to understand something that words often fail to capture. In this kingdom, culture is not a performance. It is the air people breathe. It fills the streets, the schools, the offices, the homes. It is worn on the body, stitched into cloth with threads of memory and pride. and nowhere is that more beautifully visible than in the clothing the Bhutanese wear each day. Every morning, as the sun slides over the mountains like a slow, golden curtain, men step into their guo, a knee-length robe folded with precision, belted neatly at the waist. Women wrap themselves in the kira, long and graceful, flowing to the ankles in colors that mirror the landscapes around them: the brown of fertile soil, the green of forests, the red of sacred temples. These garments are not worn for tourists. They are worn because they carry identity. I remember watching a classroom of children on their way to school, boys tugging at their collars, girls adjusting their kira with giggles and chatter. The teacher greeted them one by one, complimenting a neatly folded robe or a carefully pinned shawl. It wasn't strictness that guided these traditions, but a sense of belonging, a quiet reminder that even as the world changes, some things deserve to be held close. Long ago, I learned, young men were expected to master the art of embroidery, not to prove skill with their hands, but to show refinement of character. A patient hand, after all, reflects a patient mind. These patterns, intricate, geometric, symbolic, find their way into rugs, wall hangings, and clothing that requires hours, sometimes weeks, of delicate attention. To own such a piece is to carry the labor and love of an entire family. One evening, I visited a small weaving house in a remote village. An elderly woman sat by the window, her loom clicking softly in the dimming light. She moved with the ease of someone who had woven every day for decades. When I asked what pattern she was creating, she simply said, "A story of my mother." And then she continued weaving, as if nothing more needed to be explained. Watching her, I understood that in Bhutan, tradition is not frozen in time. It is lived, repurposed, reinterpreted, but never abandoned. Even younger generations, who scroll through phones and stream shows like the rest of the world, still wrap themselves each morning in the fabric of their ancestors. As night fell over the village, and the sound of the loom faded into the mountain air, I felt a quiet gratitude rise within me. In a world where so much is mass-produced and quickly forgotten, Bhutan chooses instead to carry its history on its shoulders, literally, with dignity, with care, and with a softness that feels like a gift. As the plane lifted slowly from the narrow Paro runway, banking gently between the mountains that had guarded the kingdom for centuries, I felt a weight inside me shift. Not the heaviness of sadness, though leaving Bhutan carried its own quiet ache, but the weight of perspective returning to its rightful place. The world below grew smaller, the valleys folding into soft shadows, the rivers narrowing into silver threads. And yet the feeling Bhutan left within me seemed to expand with each passing moment. Looking down, I saw the final glimmers of prayer flags waving from distant ridges, their colors dancing in the thin Himalayan air. I saw the clustered roofs of villages, where laughter came as easily as breath. I saw forests so wide and deep that they seemed to stretch into eternity. And though the land was fading from view, the stillness it had given me remained, a stillness woven from kindness, humility, and a deliberate choice to live gently. What struck me most as the clouds slowly swallowed the last glimpses of Bhutan was this: nothing in the kingdom had been loud. Nothing had tried to impress me. Nothing had demanded awe. Yet everything, every encounter, every silence, every small, graceful detail had spoken in a voice I couldn't ignore. A voice that said, life doesn't need to be more. It just needs to be enough. In a world that measures success by speed, Bhutan measures it by balance. In a world that rewards ambition, Bhutan rewards harmony. In a world that devours the sacred, Bhutan preserves it. And in a world suffocating under noise, Bhutan whispers softly, steadily, insistently, reminding us to return to ourselves. As the plane broke through the last layer of mist and into open sky, I found myself whispering a quiet promise. Not to the mountains, not to the land, but to the version of myself that Bhutan had gently revealed. A promise to walk slower, to breathe deeper, to choose intention over urgency, reverence over consumption, and presence over distraction. If this journey has spoken to you, even in a small way, then let it continue. There are more stories waiting, more places that shape the soul in ways maps cannot capture. When you're ready, follow the next video on your screen. Let the path unfold, step by gentle step. And if you wish to walk with me again, subscribe to Fascinating Discoveries. Share this journey with someone who might need its quiet truth. And let us keep exploring the hidden corners of this world together. Thank you for being here. May your days be light, your steps steady, and your heart open to the kind of wonder that never fades.